A substitute teacher once looked directly at me, looked at her roster, and marked me absent. While I was sitting right there. Not because I was invisible. Not because I was hiding. I was literally in my seat, backpack on the floor, pencil in hand. She just didn't believe I was real. But to understand how that moment happened, I have to take you back 2 years, to 6th grade, to Mr. Callahan's English class, period 3. The room smelled like old carpet and dry erase markers, and it was the day everything changed for me. The humiliation. Mr. Callahan had this policy. Every student read a paragraph from whatever book we were doing, out loud, in front of the class. He called it building reading confidence. I called it a nightmare with a seating chart. I wasn't a bad reader. I want to be clear about that. I actually loved reading. I read at home with a flashlight under the covers, the kind of kid who finishes a book in 2 days and then walks around sad for a week because the characters aren't real. Reading was mine. It was private. It was quiet. When Mr. Callahan pointed at me that Thursday in October, I had a paragraph from Hatchet. I knew the book. I liked the book. I started reading. And then about halfway through my paragraph, I mispronounced hatchet. I said hatchet instead of hatchet. It was one syllable off. One tiny, meaningless syllable. The whole class laughed. Not like a polite chuckle. Like a genuine, rolling, look at each other wave of laughter. And Mr. Callahan didn't stop it. He just said, keep going, while kids were still giggling. I finished the paragraph in a voice so small I could barely hear myself. I remember walking home that day thinking, I'm never doing that again. Compliance. And I meant it. I developed a system. I call it the quiet protocol, which sounds dramatic, but honestly, it was just me becoming the least notable student in every room I entered. Step 1, sit in the middle of the class. Not the front where teachers make eye contact. Not the back, where they assume you're up to something. The middle. The human blind spot. Step 2, always look engaged, but never raise your hand. Nod, occasionally. Flip a page. Click your pen once. Give the teacher just enough signal that you're alive without giving them a reason to call on you. Step 3, if a teacher starts scanning the room for volunteers, find something urgent to write in your notebook. Teachers almost never interrupt someone who appears to be writing. By 7th grade, I had this down to an art form. I got decent grades because I did all my work just silently. I turned in essays. I completed tests. I existed on paper. I just didn't exist out loud. My teachers knew my name the way you know the name of a street you drive past every day, but have never actually turned onto. Familiar. Forgettable. Present but not worth stopping for. My best friend, Danny, thought it was kind of funny at first. She'd nudge me in the hallway after class and say, Miss Okonkwo literally looked right through you today, like you were a window. And I'd laugh it off. Haha, so funny. So relatable. But in my head, every time I laughed about it, there was this other voice. Not a sad voice. A patient one. Like someone sitting in a chair, watching a clock. Waiting. The private face. Here's the thing nobody saw. I was writing everything down. Not in a diary. In a marble composition notebook I kept in the front pocket of my backpack. Every single time I had something to say in class and didn't say it, I wrote it down instead. The answer to a question nobody got right. The actually correct interpretation of a poem. The fact that the essay prompt had a grammatical error in it. One entry, November of 7th grade, Miss Okonkwo said the theme of the story was perseverance. It's not. It's about the difference between surviving something and recovering from it. Those are not the same thing. I wrote both in my essay. She gave me a B+ and wrote good effort in the margin. Danny didn't know about the notebook. Nobody did. On the outside, I was compliant. Quiet. Nodding. Fine. On the inside, I was running a 2-year tab. The Trap Springs. 8th grade. 2nd semester. Miss Petrov was a regular English teacher. Sharp. Fast-talking. The kind of teacher who remembered every student's reading level and also every student's excuse. She knew me. She knew my silence was a choice, not a limitation, and she had a respectful, unspoken agreement with me. I produced the written work. She doesn't cold call me in front of 30 people. It worked. But Miss Petrov got a stomach bug the 2nd week of February, and in came the substitute. Her name, according to the sign-in sheet she left on the desk, was Miss Drummond. She had a rolling tote bag, a laminated seating chart that was 2 years out of date, and the energy of someone who had been doing this for 30 years and had stopped being impressed by anything. I watched her settle in. I watched her pull out her roster. I watched her straighten it on the desk like she was preparing a legal document. Then roll call started. She went through the list alphabetically. I'm a J. Jamila. Easy name. Not a weird one. Not one anyone has ever mispronounced. I sat up slightly. Pencil down. Ready. She read every name in the H's. Then the K's. Then the L's. She skipped me. Not paused. Not stumbled. Skipped. Like my name simply was not on the page she was reading from. I didn't move. I watched her finish roll call, cap her pen, look out at the class and say, okay, if I missed anyone, just... And then she looked directly at me. Direct eye contact. She looked at me looked at her roster, looked back at me, and then, I am not making this up, she turned to the girl sitting next to me, Maya Chen, and said, "Do you know if that seat is usually occupied?" My roster shows it empty. Maya's mouth opened. She looked at me. Here's the thing about Maya. She was not someone who did favors quietly. She was the kind of person who, if she lent you a pencil, reminded you about it for a week. We weren't close. We were seat neighbors, which is its own category of relationship. Close enough to borrow an eraser, not close enough to know each other's schedules. I gave her the smallest, most deliberate nod. Like, not yet. Don't say anything yet. Maya held my gaze for a beat that felt much longer than it was. I could see her deciding. She could just tell Miss Drummond my name right now. End the weirdness. Go back to her own notebook. That would have been the easy thing, the normal thing. She looked back at Miss Drummond and said, "I'm not really sure." Then she glanced at me sideways. A look that said very clearly, "You owe me an explanation later." Miss Drummond shrugged and wrote something on her clipboard, almost certainly a mark for absence. I felt Danny's stare from across the room burning into the side of my face. Her eyes were doing the thing they do when she's about to laugh or explode, and she wasn't sure which. I opened my composition notebook to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote, "Today, the hand." Miss Drummond started the lesson, a reading comprehension activity. Someone reads a passage aloud, then the class answers questions. She scanned the room for a volunteer. This was the moment. I knew it. 2 years of swallowed answers and patient waiting, and this was it. My hand started to rise, and I almost stopped it. That's the part I don't know how to explain fully. There was a half second where my arm was moving upward and my brain was screaming, "Abort, abort, what are you doing? She already decided you don't exist. What if she just ignores you again? What if she calls on someone else without even seeing you? What if you do this whole thing and she just..." And then my elbow locked, my hand went all the way up, and it was too late to take it back. My heart was slamming against my ribs. My face felt hot. I was aware of every inch of myself in a way I usually work very hard to avoid. 30 people in this room, and I had just made myself the tallest thing in it. Not a little hand. A full, straight up, look at me hand. The kind I hadn't raised in 2 years. Miss Drummond was scanning left, then right. She was going to land somewhere else. I watched her eyes move across the room and felt the floor drop slightly beneath me. Then she stopped. She pointed at me. Slowly, like she wasn't entirely sure I'd done it on purpose. "You, in the middle." My mouth opened. For one terrible second, nothing came out. The pause was probably half a heartbeat. It felt like a full minute. "Me?" I said. The word came out steady. I don't know how. My voice sounded more certain than I felt, and I remember being briefly, distantly grateful for that my body had decided to cooperate even when my brain was still running contingency plans. "Yes, go ahead." I looked down at the passage. I took one breath. And then I read. Clear and measured, every word exactly the way it was supposed to sound. Not fast. Not rushed. Not the small, collapsing voice from Mr. Callahan's class. My voice. When I finished, I looked up. The room was different than it had been 30 seconds ago. I could feel it before I could explain it. Miss Drummond had her pen in her hand, but she wasn't writing. A few students were looking at me, and then at her, and then back at me. Danny had gone completely still, which almost never happens. Miss Drummond said, "Good. Thank you. What's your name?" And here's the part. Here's what I'd been building toward for 2 years without knowing exactly how it would happen. I said, "Jamila Jackson. Jackson. I'm on your roster. You marked me absent." The words landed differently than I expected. Not dramatic, just plain. True, in the way that facts are true when you say them out loud and they don't need anything added to them. Miss Drummond looked at her clipboard, looked at me, looked at her clipboard again. The silence stretched. I actually counted 4 full seconds. 4 seconds of Miss Drummond staring at a piece of paper while 30 people waited. She uncapped her pen, crossed something out, and marked me present. "My mistake," she said. The voice of someone who gives corrections the way other people give parking tickets. Brisk, impersonal, final. No apology for the weight of it. No acknowledgement that she had looked directly at me and decided I wasn't there. Just 2 words and a pen mark. I had expected to feel triumphant. What I actually felt was something quieter and less clean. Like a door closing that had been open for a long time. Not satisfying, exactly. More like necessary. The class absorbed it. That's the only word for what happened next. Nobody laughed. Nobody whispered. 30 people sat with what had just happened, and I watched it move through the room the way a sound does. Rippling out, touching different faces in different ways. A few students exchanged looks. One kid in the back row frowned at Miss Drummond's clipboard, like he was recalculating something. A girl near the window was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read, somewhere between impressed and uncomfortable, like she'd just seen a thing she didn't know was possible. Miss Drummond moved on. She started talking about the comprehension questions like nothing had happened. But something had happened. I could feel it in the room. You can't unsee a thing once it's been seen. Dani let out a breath that sounded like a laugh she was swallowing whole. I opened my notebook and drew a small line at the bottom of the page. Not dramatic, just a line. The kind you draw when something is finished. Maya caught my eye from the next seat and gave me a look that was equal parts vindicated and baffled, like she had held a door open without knowing what was going to walk through it. I mouthed, "Thank you." She shook her head slowly, already composing the questions she would ask me later. Standing tall, here's what I want you to understand. I didn't become loud that day. I didn't transform into the kid who raises her hand every 5 minutes and makes comments that run 3 minutes long. That's not who I am, and pretending to be that person would have been its own kind of performance. What changed was quieter than that. I read aloud in class again. Not every day. But when I had something to say, I said it. In my own voice, at my own pace, without shrinking the syllables down so nobody would hear. Dani asked me at lunch, "How long have you been planning that?" I thought about the marble composition notebook, the 2 years of answers I'd swallowed, the patient voice watching the clock. "6th grade, I said. She stared at me. "That's terrifying." "I know," I said, and took a bite of my sandwich. Maya sat down across from us 5 minutes later, put her tray down, and said without preamble, "Okay, explain." And I did. And she listened with this expression that shifted from confused to thoughtful to something I recognized. The look of someone who has also been looked past before and has never quite figured out what to do about it. We didn't become best friends, but we became something. The kind of people who nod at each other in hallways and mean something real by it. Mr. Callahan's class had taught me something he didn't intend to teach. He taught me that embarrassment is loudest in the moment it happens, and then it gets quieter every day after that, until one day it's just a story you tell flat-faced over lunch while your best friend stares at you like you've confessed to something that should probably be illegal. Miss Drummond's roster had my name on it the whole time. She just didn't look hard enough. Some people will overlook you right up until you make it impossible. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to do that. You don't have to perform or explode or spend 2 years plotting. You just have to know who you are well enough that when the moment comes, you can say your own name out loud and mean it completely. That's the thing I carried out of that classroom. Not a victory over Miss Drummond. Not a fixed roster. Something smaller and harder to lose. The knowledge that I could be seen on my own terms when I chose it. I'd always been there. I just finally made sure she knew it too.